Hello, we're back with today a more special. We don't usually post on Thursdays. This is going to be about some severe weather that's possible. So let's just get started right off with, and this is tomorrow. I probably should have mentioned that before. I hate how my camera makes me look like I'm looking away because I'm just looking at the screen. So don't worry, I'm not looking away. Anyway, so we do have this pretty big slight risk area. And that's a level 1 out of 2, and I think I have it back here. I don't memorize these off the top of my head. This means that there's increased confidence that some storms will contain damaging winds, severe hail, and or tornadoes. I will go into what exactly those threats are, but that's generally the threshold for a slight risk. So, and then there's a giant marginal risk. So the marginal risk does include a lot of major cities, but again, I typically cover an area of about here, maybe even here, not that bottom one. So I cover a smaller area, but the areas that are included, I would cover Des Moines, Chicago, Milwaukee, La Crosse, Green Bay, Peoria. You're all in these threats. So, I mean, I'm just going to get right into it. Where is it? Oh yeah, I want to show you a couple other severe weather maps. This is from the Colorado State University. And, oh, wait, I never showed you the tornado. Tornado is relatively low. These are the 1 a.m. outlooks. I don't get another one until, like, 12:30. That's an hour or so from now. Of course, I will post shorts. Not mine. I probably will post shorts. So there's a relatively low 2% probability of a tornado within 25 miles of a point. Inside that slight risk, it does not seem to go out of that slight risk. Slight risks can allow for a 5%, but here the Storm Prediction Center doesn't think that we'll need a 5%. Of course, that could always change. We get like 5 outlooks tomorrow. Wind seems to be the biggest threat, wind and hail. Wind and hail both being 15% in the slight risk area. That's what's driving the slight risk. Although it's not hatched, so that doesn't mean very significant wind and hail. And then the hail does shrink. It does seem to be like wind in Michigan more than hail. And now, Colorado State University machine learning predictions. These can be good. I just like to show them as a couple other points of views. No tornado risk. Not as big of a hail risk, but it does support that wind risk. And I'm going to show you a different machine learning prediction just to give you a couple different points of views. This is NATOcast. It is definitely a strange name, but it pretty much means what it's a tornado kind of severe weather. Here we are. So this one, I feel like something just happened. This one actually projects a 5% zone, potentially including Chicago. They might, it's a little off because it does mean within 25 miles of a point. But Chicago, you're in that 3%, as at least according to NATOcast. And then again, there's 5%. So NATOcast thinks there's going to be a greater tornado risk than what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking. Now, wind. We have to talk about wind. This is wind, right? Yes. Chance of 50 plus knot thunderstorm winds. I like using miles per hour. Might not sound professional. I have no idea. 50 knots, 2 miles per hour.
It's 57.54 miles per hour.
Yeah, so severe wind. 58 miles an hour is typically the severe wind. Now, Chicago, you've got a 30%, but it's not hatched, which means that you're not going to see at least 65 plus knot, which I also don't know. I should have a knot comparison chart somewhere here. Anyway, so it does seem like if this model is right, we could see an enhanced risk for Chicago, mainly driven by wind. And then hail, definitely lower. That's not too big of a concern. It's going to show you front forecast. Let me open that up. I am never prepared. Anyway, we might go live tomorrow anyway. I want to keep this short. So this is early mornings, midnight. You can see that some storms do move through at the start of the morning, early morning. That would be morning convection, as we call it. And then cloud cover does show that in certain areas there will be sun which can help drive this CAPE, convective available potential energy, up. We look for 1,500 for big storms, but there could be as little as 500. And we can see Chicago, you've got this kind of area of increased mean layer CAPE. I like using the mean layer CAPE because that does more of a, tells you the average. I think most of us know what mean is. So yeah, 1800s in Chicago, but even over here, you get into into the thousands. But I want to make sure there's actually going to be rain here. Yep, so this does support kind of more of a wind risk everywhere, kind of like a Boeing shape, and it's not as prevalent here, but there's kind of a Boeing shape here. So that would more or less, that would more support wind, maybe some hail, surface hail as we move through the hours. Not as I says that that's like not hail size though. That's what was I gonna say? It's not hail size. I'm getting confused. Yeah, but anyway, the storms do move through. It could dodge Chicago and then hit again. But if this happens, there's going to be lower energy in the atmosphere, which is why I think Chicago is kind of being kept under that lower risk. Although SCP-03 isn't bad. That supercell parameters, composite parameter. And then there's significant tornado parameter, also pretty low. So what I would generally say, even throughout this area, given this model, this area, given the model throughout the day, I would say we can't rule out a tornado or two, but I am going to say that as of right now, at least, the Storm Prediction Center is probably right in that there won't likely be a tornado, but a lot of lightning. So stay safe because that'll be the lightning threat too, with pretty high rain counts. Yeah, pretty high rain counts. Anyway, I will show you the forecast chart so you can kind of see what's happening, why that's being caused. Let me get the times. It's about then, so 20Z. Friday, 12Z, 7 a.m. It shows, it's hard to tell here about what's causing it, because like you get this warm front. That's probably why it'll be kind of warm tomorrow, if I didn't mention that. It is supposed to be warm tomorrow. Yeah, 80s. Even up to 90 in Chicago. And then I think that's a cold front. I would assume that there's like a cold front or something here. And there's decently high dew points supporting that storm. So, and then this is 7 p.m. Friday. Okay. So there's another warm front coming up. So that typically means that there's not, because right here it's not showing anything to trigger storms. Although I think that cold front might have something to do with it. It might move faster potentially. And then I think Saturday had storms. Day 3. Yeah, there's a marginal risk. I'm not going to make a video about that unless it goes slight. So breakdown, cold front could be causing these storms. I would assume the cold front because I don't see anything else on the map. There's thunderstorms, low chance of a tornado everywhere. Although NATOcast, which is a machine learning prediction system, does think a little higher of a risk. And then, of course, wind. Wind seems to be our biggest threat, wind and hail. Not destructive, though, so that's good. Of course, there's the potential for destructive. I'll continue making shorts about this storm, but please consider subscribing, because if it does go enhanced or slight or any risk gets upgraded, there is a chance that I do go live.